This is an interesting session because in the last 12 months or 6 months alone, a lot has changed in the world of AI. We are talking generative AI quite frequently because it has gotten democratized in the process. It is not a technology held by the top few organizations like Netflix for recommendation engine, Google for search, Facebook for serving ads. But in fact, GenAI is now everyone's mandate to go and execute and ensure that you will increase the productivity of your organization by tenfold and 100-fold. Not too long ago, we saw this as a YouTube clip where Google is demonstrating its Gemini capabilities. How many of you remember seeing that? Right? Many of you saw that. And I can tell you, regardless of what it was, it actually set our imaginations on fire, because it was as though the demonstrator was having a real-time conversation with the generative AI chatbot, where it's playing tic-tac-toe, it's drawing a picture, differentiating between a drawn image versus a 3D image. It could tell the difference between an orange, which was a picture, to a real fruit that was in the hand of the demonstrator. What does that all mean? It all means that the demand for AI in the next decade or so is going to go multi-fold. These are some of the numbers that have been put up by the analysts. We are talking about 26% boost in GDP, which would translate to $17 trillion. And $17 trillion in the area of just productivity alone. That means if you are a developer doing code, it's going to be executed a lot faster. If you're in sales, you're going to connect with your customers a lot quicker. You will understand them. Recommendation engines would be real and hyper-personalized based on your behavior. It is not only going to change that, it is also going to improve the bottom line for your organization by $900 billion by 2026. That's just 2 years from now on. And that is why the valuations for AI companies is going through the roof, because the potential is humongous. Now, in order to build such an AI capability for your organization, there are 3 main tenets that you need to live by. Number 1, it needs to be in real time, that is speed. It needs to scale, that means it needs to grow a lot quicker and faster. And lastly, it's got to be simple. Real time is no longer nice to have. How many of you agree with that? I have never received a conversation with another professional by saying, hey, your database is really fast. Can you make it a little slower? You'll never hear that. Never will you see an IT ticket by saying, my dashboard is too fast. Can you slow it down, please? Neither will anyone come in your organization and say, hey, your code is good. It's too simple. Can you make it a little complex for me? You'll never see that. Because speed, scale, and simplicity is what is going to be needed in the next era of when we are doing, especially with GenAI. And you have heard this. Data is the new oil. We have been thumping our chest. We have been, saying this quite loudly in the last few decades. But that has now changed. Data is no longer the new oil. Data, in fact, is the new soil. Because without data, you are not going to build models. Neither are you going to run your RAG, augmented generation on top of it, because data is required. And data needs to be all of them, not just structured data. We are talking about unstructured data, sound, image, text, everything that is there within your organization that you have built over the last decade or so needs to be brought in so that you can contextualize your data and build products and services to enhance and delight the lives of your customers. And when I say simplicity, I'm not saying you ignore complexity. We need to find a way to conquer them. And conquering complexity is not an easy task. You and I have a day job because our job is to conquer these complexities every single day. So let me show you an illustration. If I go to a typical enterprise today and I want to build an application. Let's say I want to build a customer-facing application. I would pick a open source database like MySQL. I'll bring in my operational data in. I'll bring in my, uh, you know, uh, I'll bring in my streaming data in. I'll bring multiple sources of batch data into the equation. Then I say, you know what? I want to bring in some kind of a third-party data into the equation. So I bring in a document database like a MongoDB into the fold to handle document data. And slowly you say, you know what? My application is suffering a bit, so I want to build low latency capabilities. So I bring in an in-memory database so that it would cache, and I'll pick my favorite data and put it in memory. The remaining one will be on disk. The unused ones will be on object store. And then you say, you know what, I want to build analytical capabilities. So I go and purchase a data warehouse solution. So I aggregate all the data into one solution. And then you say, I want to do full text search. So I bring in a product like Elastic into the mix. And I bring in IoT data through Kafka. Can you say where I'm going with this? And then you put a Spark connector and do your data science stuff on top of it. In just this illustration alone, I mentioned 7 to 6 databases. And none of these databases have the latest data. And you need to serve all that to one application. And now we are talking about AI, and we need to stick one of these hyper-specialized point solution database into the mix, right? These are vector-only databases. They don't do anything else. And when you take this vector database and stick it into an existing infrastructure, this is what happens. It adds to the chaos, right? And you need, in a typical bank, you would have 50 to 30 databases with 50 to 30 teams managing them. And if one breaks, everything breaks. An application will suffer in the process. But with SingleStore, this is what it would look like. A lot of things will go away in the process. And this is not, by the way, a trick you do on PowerPoint. This is real. This is what many of the enterprises do. You don't need a data warehouse. You don't need an in-memory database. You don't need a vector database. You just need SingleStore, because we can handle batch operational data, streaming data. We can handle JSON data. We can take care of all your needs with full text search, key value, geospatial, vectors, and so on. And that is why SingleStore is the database built for the generative AI era. We are talking about capabilities such as transactions and analytics on one platform. Never been heard before. Usually databases end up in two worlds. Either you're a transactional database or an analytical database. Then you need to do some ETL in between. By then you're losing precious time. SingleStore, with its universal storage patented architecture, brings two tables in one product, which means you can now reason with data as soon as it lands. Number two, we handle a variety of data types. We are multi-modal. We can handle SQL, NoSQL, geospatial, key value, JSON, BSON, you name it, we handle them all. Next, we have a 3-tier storage architecture. We are in memory, disk, and on object store. That means you can keep your data in object store and you will still get in-memory performance, which will translate into huge cost savings. How do we do that? We keep the data in object store and we will cache your queries in memory, which will give you superior performance and low latency. And lastly, we have hybrid search and semantic search, giving you simplicity across the board. And these are some of the customers that we have leveraged and transformed in the process. We are talking about Fathom Analytics, which is a privacy-first organization which replaced MySQL and Redis and Amazon DynamoDB. We are talking about GE, General Electric, which replaced Apache Spark, Cassandra, Elastic, Druid, and Mongo in the process. Hulu, Disney Plus, right, which replaced Apache Storm and Druid for streaming analytics. Armis Security, we replaced Postgres and Elastic in the process. Now the question is, you have seen enough slideware, is any of this real? So let me show you what we can do, and I'll highlight some of the key capabilities in the process. So this is SquirrelBot, SQRLBot. We are a real-time SQL database. We essentially trained this bot on SingleStore technical documentation, and now you can ask technical questions on SingleStore to get output out of it. So there is a question I've written that, does SingleStore support vectors? How would I store vectors in my table and run cosine similarity? So in this demo, you're going to see where it takes a transaction, analyzes it, and contextualizes its data using RAG, and gives you the output with references and code for you to use in your database. The next demo I want to show is to highlight the key capabilities around transaction and analytics running on a single platform. Usually, in an application, you need at least 2 to 3 databases for this to happen, but with SingleStore, you just need a single one. So I'm going to show you a MarTech demo. And I am examining New York City. This is where you can see in this demo where you're receiving offers, you're getting real-time transactions about your subscribers, segmentation, and it's all happening in real time for New York City. If I add Singapore to the mix, it takes a few seconds and immediately it starts generating the transactions, the offers, the data that has been ingested in the process. Over here, when I click on the analytics, it shows me the analytics on the offers and subscribers and the notification and the top performing customers that is getting analyzed in real time. Not only for Singapore, but also you can flip it to New York City as well. So you can see the notification count has jumped, and you can see the conversion rate and the stuff for the requests and purchases in real time. And the last demo that I want to show you is our product called SingleStore Studio. This is the SQL editor that we have, and I'm going to show you something. So I have some refinery data. I have it in a demo database. It's called a historian table test, and you can see it has 46.7 billion rows of data, and you can see that it has compressed 99.85%. And when I click on the historian table test and look at the index, you can see there is nothing that's being indexed, there's nothing in memory, there's nothing in disk. So let me show you what we do now. So I'm going to open the SQL editor. I have connected to the demo database. Let's confirm first how many rows of data do we have. Within a split second, in 200 milliseconds, within a fraction of a second, it scanned through the entire table and has shared that it has 47 billion rows of data in this database. Next, I'm going to add some complexity to the query by doing a subselect with joins, and I run it. It actually did all that under 265 milliseconds. And here's the best part. The more you run, the faster it gets. And that's how we serve General Electric with 40,000 concurrent users, Goldman Sachs, and beyond. Now, I said we are multi-modal, so I have a JSON data over here. I'm going to run a simple JSON query. And it extracted JSON data using SQL under 655 milliseconds. And the same, again, JSON data under 223 milliseconds. What do you guys think? It's pretty cool, right? I don't think you have seen any other databases, anything that comes close to this. And these are some of the global customers and unicorns that we serve every single day. We're talking about GE, which has improved performances by 40x. Tier 1 wealth management company that has done, that serves the high net worth individuals, reduced their performance to 10 milliseconds, serving 40,000 concurrent wealth managers in the process. We're talking about Comcast doing streaming analytics for 300K events per second. We are talking about CMS Energy that does 1.2 million smart metering across the state of Michigan, and Akamai, which does 12 million upserts per second. And these are the global customers that we have. We have customers like 6sense, Dell, Samsung, Apple, Akamai, Kellogg's, which does supply chain analytics, companies like Disney Plus and Hulu for streaming analytics, Tata Communications, and beyond. That is why SingleStore is the multi-modal database for the real-time era, because the need for speed is going nowhere. The need for multi-modality is going nowhere, and we have been a vector database since 2017. It's not something we just started doing yesterday. We have been a vector database since 2017 as a product feature, but now with the whole GenAI and AI stuff with ChatGPT coming out of the woodwork, we have a lot more customer and tested and proven technology on top of it. And these are some of the high-level numbers that I can share with you, where we have 10 million upserts per second, serving 100K concurrent users, and giving you single-digit low latency across the board. Highly extensible, highly available, and highly resilient because we are a distributed database as well. Number two, we can analyze in real time. We are talking about 100x to 1,000x performance compared to a legacy database. Sub-second faster reads, handling 2 petabytes of data for some of our customers with faster aggregation, unlimited storage when you put things in object store, and we have compute of isolation with high concurrency with CPU restrictions. Number three, we can context with your data. We can not only do all of this within SingleStore, we can also bring in your enterprise data and engage with it and reason with it in real time. We are talking about 400x improvement, sub-second performance with 10 plus native functions with SingleStore pipeline, multi-modal support, and notebooks. And these are some of the high-level customers I can show you, like customers like Siemens, which does its engineering analytics, Directly Apply, which is a job search website which uses generative AI capabilities on SingleStore, LiveRamp, Thorn, which is a nonprofit, which I'll explain really soon. This is one of our customers, Epigen. Epigen uses facial recognition for law enforcement use cases and for transportation for real-time analytics. And we have shown 5x improvement with sub-10 milliseconds, saving $2 million in the process. And this is the kind of augmentation of cost and speed that we are talking about for your application. The next one is Tata Communications, where we have taken their digital backbone, we have replaced their legacy infrastructure, and have given 50% TCO reduction as well as 4x higher performance for data ingestion. And lastly, Thorn, which is a non-profit organization which takes care of finding missing children in the United States, and they have a law enforcement facing application called Spotlight. So what they do is they take the image of the missing children, run it through CCTV footage and other portals, and in real time serve it to law enforcement. And in that process, it's all done and run on a SingleStore cloud service. And we have been able to save through Thorn 27,000 children in the process. And that too, working with 3.2K agencies and reducing investigation time by 61%. These are the kind of performances you will not see anywhere else. Now the question is, how can you get started with SingleStore? It's simple. We just recently launched our SingleStore 8.5 release just last week, and we have released one-of-a-kind free shared tier where you can deploy your own applications on SingleStore for free. You can just go sign up on the cloud and choose the vendor of choice, whether it's on AWS, whether it's on GCP or Azure, and you can run it against our huge library of notebooks, which we call Spaces, with pre-built notebooks where you can do recommendation engines, fraud detection, and whatever you have it, you can immediately deploy them on the free tier. Lastly, this is an overview of SingleStore. We have the entire SingleStore data stack that can contextualize your data with a real-time SQL distributed system, and we work with Hugging Face, Llama 2, Watson X, OpenAI, and so much more. And we are multi-modal. We are relational, columnar, key value, JSON. We handle geospatial, time series, and all this by keeping and managing data on a single table, both OLTP and OLAP. We handle a variety of data types, a single platform to build your next generation of AI applications. And that's SingleStore. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you by our booth where we can show you really high-level technical deep dive and schedule sessions with you all. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.